Crashing, hit a wall. Right now, I need a miracle. Hurry up now, I need a miracle. Stranded, reaching out. I call your name, but you're not around. I say your name, but you're not around. I need ya, I need ya, I need you right now. Yeah, I need you right now. So don't let me down. I think I'm losing my mind now. It's in my head, darling, I hope that you'll be here when I need you the most. So don't let me down. Don't let me down. Yeah, don't let me down.
Welcome everyone to our next SFX Academy session. We are talking derivatives, we are talking futures, and we are getting started. Let me know in the chat box where are you following today's session from. Today's topic is going to be futures rollover and futures expiration. All right, how to not make the most common mistakes if it comes to the futures market, how to not prolong, right, and overextend your trades throughout the expiration, what to do when the expiration approaches, and what is the difference between futures market and forex market that a lot of you are used to, right? Well, futures expiration dates and rollover will be one of the most significant and important differences to keep in mind when you start trading futures market. And this is going to be one of the last topics before we're gonna dive into the platform for futures market analysis, and we're gonna dive deeper into the charts, right? So a lot of you are waiting for this and looking forward for this, I know for sure. So that moment is coming closer. But today we're gonna still learn a very important aspect that is going to be absolutely necessary and required in your trading routine. All right, and today's topic, as I said, is right in front of you. I see South Florida is already with us today. I see also New York is here. Let me know in the chat box, where are you tuning in from for today's call, because we are right here getting started right now. So again, what is the futures expiration and what is the futures rollover? Well, every single futures contract have a limited lifespan, okay? This is one of the major differences between the Forex market and trading futures contracts, because we need to be aware of this expiration date when they're approaching and how to create our exit strategy regarding this. Therefore, since every single future contract has a limited lifespan, there is a defined expiration and the specific delivery date for each of them. And you will need to learn the difference between the contracts that you trade. Not every single futures contract that you trade will actually have the same expiration date and the same rollover terms, so we need to be aware of this, and this is what we are going to learn today. There are two major definitions and terms related to this topic that are particularly important to learn about. First is expiration, second is rollover. Okay? A part of managing your trade is knowing what to do when contract expiration date is approaching, coming closer, and exit out of the expiring contract before the date of expiration happens. You need to be aware of expiration dates because it will influence the outcome of the trade and your exit strategy. So the contract expiration date is the last day when trader can trade this particular contract. Again, very important, the contract's expiration date is the last day when trader can trade this particular futures contract. This date varies by contract. All instruments are not created equal, and some expire quarterly and some of them will expire monthly, and we will have a look at the different contracts today so you can see how they all work. So as you know by now, some of the most popular, most traded, most liquid A-mini contracts are the following. ES, which stands for A-mini S&P 500 futures, NQ, which stands for A-mini Nasdaq 100 futures, EM, which is A-mini Dow Jones, and RTI, which is A-mini Russell 2000 futures. This refer to stock index futures. Okay, they are known as stock index futures. And stock index futures expire quarterly. All of them and the rest of the stock index futures expire in the months of March, June, September, and December. So every single quarter, every 3 months, specifically on the third Friday of each month at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so this is something that you will need to remember, and I will also teach you today where to find this information if you want to trade some other futures contract, how you can find when this future contract will expire and how to be aware of it, and so on and so on. For now, you can write down that stock index futures expire quarterly every 3 months, and particularly in March, June, September, and December, third Friday of the month at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the previous classes, one of the first classes, we've learned how to read future symbols. So knowing this and learning this, you also can choose the right contract to trade, because as you remember, one of the parts of a future symbol tells you the months of the expiration of this particular futures contract. As we can see here on the example of stock index futures, expiration months are marked as following. March, it's H, June as the letter M, September, letter U, and December, letter Z. I highlighted them for you so you can see that it's every single 3 months, and one of these letters you will always be able to find in the actual futures contract. For example, now for all index future contracts, we will be trading stock index futures contract. We will be trading at December, so we will have the letter Z inside of the symbol, because we are currently October, so the previous month was already expired, and we are currently trading the December contract, which is going to expire in the following months of December. Let's have an example now of the current A-mini S&P 500 contract to make it pretty clear for you and easy. we have the code right here, which is ES, which is a ticker symbol of mini S&P 500. It's stable, it never changes, as you already know from the previous classes. We have the letter Z, which is following the ticker symbol, and this letter stands for the contract expiration month. Again, as I said, we are trading December contract because that's the next actual contract that is we are currently at. And year, the last number stands for the year, so we are 2022, so we have the letter 2 in the end of the future symbol, Globex code. This contract, particular contract, will expire on the third Friday of the month December 2022, because we just learned that in stock index futures contracts expire on the third Friday of each month. So this particular contract will expire on third Friday of month December 2022, which is going to be 16th of the month, so December 16th. And already a week earlier than that, so December 9, you need to start thinking about rolling over your contract or offsetting your positions. And about both of them we will talk in a moment of how to do that. Okay, so we have there this symbol, future symbol in front of you. Now let's talk about another example of the popular futures contract, which is crude oil. A lot of you know that I love crude oil, so let's have an example of the crude oil. I couldn't miss that. So we have a futures contract of CL, ticker symbol CL, which stands for crude oil. The contract expiration month is X, which is November. And you're asking yourself why for mini S&P 500 it's Z, while for crude oil it's X. Well, it's because crude oil futures contract rolls on the month-to-month basis. So every single contract expires, all the contract expire on the monthly basis. Okay? Last number doesn't change because we still have the same year, 2022, so we stay with 2. But let's say now, right, we are in October 2022, so keeping with October 2022, you'd be trading CLX2 currently, which is November futures contract for crude oil, and rolling over to December when that time approaches. Okay? Important to keep in mind that since CL, which is a crude oil contract, if it rolls over every single month, it's important to know which date the futures contract is expire. Well, the CL contract trading terminates 3 business days before the 25th calendar day of the month. So already 3 days before the 25th of the month, we need to be aware to roll or offset our positions. And in case of the 25th of calendar day is not business day, trading will terminate 4 business days before the 25th calendar of the month, the 25th 25th day of the month, prior to the contract month. Okay, so here we see the differences between one of the 2 most popular contracts, mini S&P 500 and CL contract. As we know that mini S&P 500 rolls every 3 months, every quarter, while CL rolls every single month. Mini S&P 500 rolls on the third Friday of the month, while crude oil rolls on 25th calendar day of the month, and trading is terminated already 3 days prior to that. Okay? Give me some feedback in the chat box, please, if you are getting value. If you have any questions, remember to ask them in the chat box. I see more people already joined our today's session. This is amazing. So please remember to leave some feedback. And let me know in the chat box if the information is clear for you, if it's understandable, and if you have any questions, please also don't hesitate to ask them in the chat box, all right? So the question is where to find the futures expiration date, because we learned about the stock index futures, we've learned about CL, but what if you want to trade something else? And again, I love teaching you the process, so any single moment you will be able to go out there and find the futures contract that you like. So let's shift to our cmegroup.com website. Again, the world's leading derivative marketplaces you already know. And let's open, for example, right, a mini NASDAQ 100 futures to have something different. Once we open this, we need to go to the specifications And in specifications, you will find the row that says the termination of trading. And it will say trading terminates at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the third Friday of the contract month. And this is precisely where you find the expiration date of every single futures contract. Again, if we will go, for example, to gold, which we didn't discuss yet, but I'm pretty sure we have a lot of gold fans on this call today. So let's go back to specifications, and again, we go back to termination of trading, and we will find out that trading terminates at 12:30 p.m. Central Time of the third last business day of the contract month. Okay? So this is another way, another date of the termination of the futures contract that we also need to keep in mind. So let's say you are trading 2-3 different futures contracts. It's one of the most important things to do is to set the alarms for yourselves and reminders in the calendar a couple of days prior to the expiration, so you for sure don't miss out on that, and make life simpler for yourself. Because if the alarm is gonna go off or the calendar is gonna give you a reminder, you will not need to keep in mind constant the futures rollover until it gets as a habit, until you develop a habit of remembering this. But up until that moment, it's easy to set the alarm or reminder, so every single time an expiration date approaches, you will be notified about the necessity of rolling over your futures contract positions or offsetting your current positions, or also opening the new positions on the new month. Okay? So that's where we find the futures expiration date. Again, please let me know in the chat box if you are getting value. If you have any questions, I see the chat box is a little bit empty, and I really love in the interaction. I really love when you ask questions, or at least letting me know that everything is clear for you, so I know that we continue. Now, as we already know how to find the expiration date, the question is, what do we do when this expiration date approaches? Well, prior to expiration date, traders have several options to close out or extend their current positions without holding the trade through expiration, which of course you cannot do, otherwise you're gonna go to settlement, which we're also going to discuss today. Okay, so prior to expiration date, there are three different choices that you can make. Here we go. We have the offsetting the positions, that's first one. We have a rollover, which is the second one, and we have the settlement. So we can offset the position to fully close out our current trade. We can roll over from the current month to the forward one before the expiration date to keep our trade, keep our positions to the next futures contract if we do not want to give up our trading exposures, or we can let the contract expire and take or make delivery, which is also called settlement. Now let's talk about three of them separately, and let's discuss the differences between them, okay, and see what it is all about. Let's start with offsetting or liquidating. Well, offsetting or liquidating the position is the simplest option to take, because it simply means to close the position and taking the profit or the loss at this specific moment instead of taking physical or cash delivery on the asset. To offset position, trader must make the opposite and equal transaction to his or her initial order. In other words, in Forex, we would simply say closing the trade. In the world of futures, you are liquidating your position, you're offsetting your position. Okay, so that's a different terminology. Now, practically how we do that. For example, if you are short on one crude oil contract, which is expiring in November, so for example, you're trading oil contract right now and you are shorting it, and the date of expiration approaches, then to offset or to exit this position, you will need to buy one crude oil contract expiring at the same date. Okay? So you need to make an opposite and equal in the sizes of the contract transaction on the same exact asset, which is expiring on the same exact date. So you can see on our example that our initial order was one short of CLX2 contract, and to offset it, we need to open one loan of CLX2 contract. If we would, for example, take the short of 3 contracts, we would have 3 shorts of CLX2 contract. To offset, we would need to also open 3 longs position of CLX2 contracts. So the equal amount of contracts at the same exact future contract expiring at the same month. In this case, if you are taking a liquidation option, the difference in price between the initial position and offset position will represent your profit or loss. And just like in other markets, the difference between entry and exit price represents your profit or loss at this specific moment when you close a trade. Okay, so that's exactly as in the different markets, so nothing difficult about this. Now we will dive more into the base of futures trading and how to execute these trades practically during the next sessions when we will be learning the platform for the futures analytics. Okay, so this is about offsetting and liquidating. Now another option that we were talking about was a rollover option. So rollover happens when some market participant wishes to extend their position to the next contract. For example, we have a swing trader, okay? And in other words, trader just moves his position from the current, which is also called the front months, to the months further out in the future, so the next futures contract month. It means to offset in your current position practically and establish the new position of forward months. So practically you simply close the current position and you open the new one in the new contract months. Traders do this when they don't want to give up their market exposure when the contract expires, which means if you're a swing trader and you wish to extend your future contract, you don't want to give it up and you want to keep trading this, you can simply do exactly this, right? You can simply extend or roll over your futures contract in the next month. For example, let's imagine the trader with a mini S&P 500 futures position in September contract last month needs to get out of September position and move their interest into December contract. So this is what traders did last month, because remember that a mini S&P 500 contract expired last month, so traders offsetted their positions on September contract and opened new positions into December contract. And there are 2 ways of practically doing this. Now, technically, how we do that? The first option is called legging in, and the second option is called spreading, or in other words, position roll. Okay? Legging in means selling the September contract and buying December contract in 2 separate transactions. So just like if you would do it separately, manually closing one contract trade and opening another contract trade on the next month. Second way is called the spreading or position roll. Basically, this is a strategy that allows traders to extend their futures contract position from one expiration to the next. It also refers to rolling the future or rolling forward. So if you ever say someone says an rolling forward, rolling the futures, this is exactly this. This can be done using something called calendar spread. And by executing calendar spread, traders' position can be extended by 1 or 3 or more months depending on which contract they roll into. Okay, so it depends on the preferences of the trader of how long their vision is regarding the price movements. Now, with this option, closing the position of September contract and opening the new order of September contract executed simultaneously, so at the same time. It's simply done by the exchange, by the broker itself. So you don't need to do anything just by pressing one button which says roll. Unlike legged in, there is no time gap between 2 orders, and that's important because the time gap can result, of course, in slippage, right? And the potential loss from the market moves between the closed and opened orders. And using the roll to move the orders in a single transaction minimizes the chance of the slippage, But how to technically do it, again, we will learn in the next classes. We will dive into the futures analytical platform explanation. Now, how to determine when do you need to roll the contract, right? How to determine when it's time to move your contract by the expiration date, when the expiration date approaches. You can do so by watching the decrease in volume on expiring months and increase in volume on the next months. It is simply because traders are closing the orders on their current months and opening new orders on the next forward month. Decrease in volume on the current months is usually associated with lower liquidity and higher spreads because a lot of market participants are exiting the market. An increase in spreads on the expiring contract can be very, very harmful because, of course, your entries and exits will be entirely somewhere else and you support them to be. And although the trader who decided to move their position can do so at any time before the expiration, there is a risk to face lower liquidity when expiration date approaches. So once volume practically on the next contract is bigger than your current contract, it is time to roll. So this is what I need you to write down. Once the volume on the next contract is bigger than on your current contract, it is time to roll your position. And because you always want to trade the one which is have the biggest, most volume and the biggest liquidity. Okay, which makes sense. And again, currently this is how it looks on one of the futures, and we see that December, right? December contract for crude oil is still lower volume than November, so we keep trading November until the December volume will be bigger than November one, and then we will need to roll. Now, how to find that? Well, again, let's come back to our gold and we will go to settlement. Once we go to settlement, we will see the October contract here, November and December. Okay, so we see that the biggest volume is traded on December contract 2022. And once we know that, this is where we want to roll over to the next contract. In this case, it's December contract. Let's come back to another examples. Let's go to mini S&P 500. We go to settlement. And we also see December contract currently traded is estimated volume 1,901,513, while March contract is only 1,600 contracts. So of course, which one we will be trading? We will be trading December contract because this is the one that has the most volume and the biggest liquidity. Okay, let's go back to another one. Let's go back to, for example, crude oil. Once we go back to crude oil, let's go back to settlement. And let's see that current November month still has a bigger volume than December. They're getting close to the moment when, right, of course, because we are getting closer to the October 25th. So very soon, December contract will have bigger volume, and this is where it will be time to roll from November to December contract into the future. Now we know how to find it and how to determine when it's time to roll our futures contract. But if you are rather a scalper or intraday trader and you're considering to simply trade the contract within a few days or rollover, again, if you just simply trade, right, within the rollover, like closer to rollover day, but you are not keeping your trades overnight or over the week, then you just simply need to open the next position on the new contract. So again, if you're not holding the contract, you don't need to roll over it. You just simply need to open your new position on the new contract with a bigger volume. Okay, so again, simply start trading the contract which has a bigger volume once you see most of the traders move to the next one. I know it might seem a little complicated, but here are some good news for you. In the modern platforms, rolling over your position is as easy as clicking the button rollover. and all your instruments and positions will be updated immediately across your whole platform. The only thing you need to remember is that you are rolling over to your open position. If you are rolling over your open position, your entry price can be slightly different according to the possibilities and liquidity at this specific moment. Let's have an example. For example, if you would enter so a mini S&P 500 long position at the price of, let's imagine, 36.50, okay? After rolling to the next month's contract, you can find your entry being at least, let's say, at 36.54. So, for example, 4.5 points higher or so. You need to take this into account because then it's gonna influence the outcome of your trade, of course. Rolling over technically takes just a couple of seconds, and it's very simple. Just don't forget to do so, because if the trader hasn't offset or roll his position prior to the contract expiration, the contract will expire and proceed to what's called settlement. Settlement is fulfillment of legal delivery obligation associated with the original initial contract. At this point, trader with a short position is obligated to deliver the underlying asset because it's selling the asset, while trader with a long position will be obligated to buy and accept the delivery under the terms of the original contract. As we mentioned in the past classes, for some contracts, settlement will take a form of physical delivery of the underlying commodity, and for others, the cash settlement instead. In most cases, though, delivery will take a form of cash settlement. It always comes with cash settlement when we are talking about the equity indices or interest rates futures, for example, or stock index futures, and so on. Cash settlement take a form of credit or debit made for the value of the contract at the time of the contract expiration. This is what the cash settlement is. And, well, the physical delivery means that at the expiration date, the quantity by the underlying asset specified by contract should be delivered to the buyer. Buyer should accept it, and seller should be able to deliver it and sell it. Well, the question which appears in this is the following question. So if I miss the expiration date, will 1,000 barrels of crude oil suddenly appear under my door the next day? And this is something that worries a lot of traders. Well, although physical delivery is an important mechanism for some energy on metals or agricultural products, most traders trade futures market to profit from the price variation and movement, and they don't want to cash settlement of physical delivery. So actually only small percentage of market participants will choose to hold the contract and go to settlement. So only the small amount of trades will actually proceed to settlement. Most of them will be rolled over or closed or offset. Good news are that many brokers nowadays will just simply not allow you to accept delivery. So on one hand, you don't need to worry about the risk of their underlying asset delivery under your house, to your house. However, brokers will simply liquidate your positions on their price. And you may not particularly like that, because they will be liquidating this on their terms, and you could pay a big fees for that, or your order will be liquidated at the price that you don't like at all. So you have choices when it comes to expiration of the futures position, and understanding your options as well as planning your exit strategy in advance is a very, very important aspect of managing your trading account. It's absolutely necessary if it comes to the futures trading. So again, here is a good idea. If you are using your phone a lot, as we talked before, you go ahead and place a reminder on the expiration day, minus a couple of days to remember about the rollover necessity. And again, you don't like the liquidation, trust me, so please don't forget about offsetting or rolling over your position to the future, because liquidation of your position by the broker is not the nice experience. Okay, so this is our today's class. Well, I have a question to you. Do we have any questions regarding today's session? Do we have anything that you need to ask about? Any any thoughts about their rollover, or anything about the previous classes that you didn't particularly understand yet? Please let me know in the chat box. Let's take a couple of minutes now for questions and answers. If you have any, if you had a lot of value in today's session, you learned something new, place me also some notice in the chat box for that. I see G4 MVD's texting, this is good, helping so much. I appreciate you, and I'm happy that these sessions are able to help. Now again, while I'm waiting for your questions in the chat box, right, we can track the settlement, the volume. And if you're on, let's say, the intraday or scalper, you don't need to worry about rollover. But when the next month will have more volume, for example, December, what you're going to do, you will just simply forget about this contract and you will open new positions on the next December contract. So you will simply start trading, okay? You will simply start trading on the next contract with a bigger volume. So you don't need to roll if you are a scalper. You can, of course, you can simply open the position and roll it immediately, even if you're a scalper. You don't need to, you can just open it on the new contract as well. It's as easy as that. And we're gonna learn how to do this on the next classes, because next classes we will dive into what every single one of you are looking forward to, into their platform analysis and chart. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. In any case, I don't see any questions in the chat box right now. I see great value, amazing, thank you. Excited to get rolling, let's go. I'm excited as well. Next classes, as I said, are going to take us to the technical analysis platform, analytical platform for futures. And we're going to go into their footprints and every single thing that all of you are learning and waiting from since Zurich. So again, I appreciate every single one of you. You just answered my question, clarified, amazing. When you're doing the day trading, yes, if you're day trading, you can simply, if you want, you can roll over your position. Just remember that the opening price, enter price can be different on the next contract because of the liquidity and differences in prices between two contracts. Or you can simply open your new position in the new contract, and that's going to be it. It's going to be enough as well. Perfect. Amazing. Next classes will take place next week, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you guys. I love you all. I will see you next week for our continuation of SFX sessions, and we'll talk the platform. We'll talk technical analysis. So looking forward for that. I wish you a wonderful day. Remember to leave the feedback. We are collecting feedback for the new SFX platform and new SFX sessions. And rather than that, have an amazing rest of your day, rest of the week, and I will see you on the weekly forecast this weekend. Appreciate you all and see you soon.